what you have to understand through the process, it doesn't make sense. A lot of the time, investors at this very early stage, at pre-seed, angel, whatever it is, they're banking. A lot of it is about you. It's about the founder. It's about the team. It's about their knowledge in your capability.
Today, we have Nimrita Dadlani, founder of Pivot, the home of low-cost, low-stress divorce. Nimrita founded the company after going through her own divorce with a goal to create a welcoming, holistic platform for people to feel supported emotionally and also practically. She wanted to fix the fact that people are spending too much money on unnecessary fees. Pivot is able to optimize divorce spend by connecting people to the support they need and saving people thousands in the process. Having completed one half of a £500,000 raise, they are now raising for the remaining £250,000. Welcome to the podcast, Nimrita.
Hi, Dave. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and thanks for joining us. So this podcast is all about people who have raised, and you have just raised. You're in the middle of your raise. You've done half of it, and it's a significant amount that you're raising. And other people who are listening to this are also sort of raising similar amounts. So it's a great story for them to hear. So let's go back to the beginning then. It's good for people to understand what you were doing on the lead up that made you decide to start this company. So what were you doing before Pivot started?
So professionally, I'd worked in the garment business, and I'd done some property developments. I was a bit of a jack of all trades, and then I went through this separation and divorce, and I've always been quite entrepreneurial. I come from an entrepreneurial family. My family all have businesses, and very focused on creating new things. And so I conceived of this while going through this very difficult and traumatic life stage. I just really wanted to see a different kind of support out there, and I couldn't find it. And I thought I would like to build it really and help people, because I see that there are a lot of people who are going through the same life stage and really are looking for support and are looking, there's lots of different support out there. It's quite fragmented. So I just wanted to build a kind of one-stop shop, somewhere that they could find the support that they need and at a more affordable price point.
And so what sort of format does that take then? You said it's like a network of other professionals that all can help with that whole traumatic divorce process. Is that what it's like? Just tell us how it works.
Sure. So Pivot is a holistic platform that connects people who are going through separation and divorce with coaches, divorce coaches, content and community, and just resources to guide them, kind of like a GPS system to guide them through this life stage. We're starting with coaching, divorce coaching and consulting. Obviously, coaches are less expensive than lawyers. People end up, when they go through separation and divorce, people end up, you think divorce, you think law, legal, but it doesn't have to be that way. You don't even need to have a lawyer to get divorced, which is a common misconception. So really, we're bridging that gap between people who need to get divorced but don't want to spend all this money on legal fees, which is going to help them, but really won't give them the emotional support and guidance that they need.
So the money saving aspect is the fact that the sort of big change that you're doing is saying, you don't need a lawyer. This can be done through coaches, through negotiators. Is that the sort of...
Yeah, so, people are just really clueless when it comes to divorce. They end up leaning on lawyers, on guidance for non-legal staff, racking up these high bills. In the UK, divorce costs £42,000 outside of London and £96,000 inside London. That's with ancillary costs. You're thinking lawyers, you're thinking I have to move house, you're thinking potentially a child has to have some therapy, whatever it is, the cost of splitting two lives to one life into two lives is, and all the domino effect of that is an expensive process, and people end up spending more because they don't know what to do and how to do it. And so they go to lawyers, or they go to professionals, or they end up wasting money and doing things not in the right way. So you have this whole support system of coaches and consultants who exist and who practice, but they don't have a huge amount of exposure. But if you go, a divorce coach can save you 50% of your costs. And in the research that we've done, they say you can save your mental health and emotional stress is reduced by 75%. This is according to a lot of the market research we've done. So no matter what kind of divorce you have, it's expensive, it's stressful and overwhelming. But we are here to really change the whole process, create awareness around this different way of doing things, and starting with coaches and consultants, people who know the process and can guide you without having to spend thousands and thousands on lawyers' fees.
Yeah, right. So did you have someone that advised you that you could use a coach instead of a lawyer? Is that how did your personal story fit into this?
Yeah, well, actually, sadly, in my own family, there's quite a bit of divorce. So I had close family members who had been through this and who really definitely coached me through it. I would say that they held my hand, and my family and my friends really helped me through it. They had experience, and so I was pretty lucky in that way. But I did also use a divorce coach at some point in the process. I think I did an 8-week course. But my own personal story, I've had, there was quite a lot of, it was quite traumatic, and there were children's issues, and it was complicated. So I did seek a lot of support through that process. It will be 3 years since my separation now in February. So, it's been a long journey, but, I think that mental health is, and, holding people's hands through these difficult life stages is really important and necessary.
Yeah, and I think that some of the very best products out there and some of the best services have come from a result of trauma and a result of not being able to find the right result and the frustration that gives. So I think that, out of all that negativity has come this amazingly positive thing that you've managed to, pull out of it and branded. So let's talk more positively about that then, and how that came about. So how did you actually start that process? What was the actual first point in which you started Pivot?
So it was about, I think it was July of last year. I just, I was kind of scrolling Instagram, and I thought there was another app which came up, an app which connects women with other women. And I thought, and it was talking about, talk to people who've been through the same experience as you, and find support that you need with people who you can understand. And I thought, there needs to be this kind of product for this huge underserved market of people. And I knew that it didn't exist at the moment. So I had I have a friend who's a tech founder, an successful exited tech founder in the space. And I just called her and I said, I'd love to meet for a coffee, and, ran the idea past her, and she was really supportive, and just kind of told me to go for it. So I spent a couple of months, I was finishing up another project. And so I just kind of incubated this idea a little bit. And then, it was about a year ago, just over a year ago, started kind of putting pen to paper a little bit, came together with my co-founder, and he's a ex-CFO, COO, very operationally and strategically minded. So, ran it past him. He thought this is a viable idea and it's got legs. So we came together, and, I really just, I think that I didn't really have any fear. And so I talked to everybody, I asked everybody, I ran it by everybody that started talking to a lot of people, and, kind of went for it. Of a better phrase.
So you kind of got your market validation from sort of your immediate friends network. Was there any of those people in your personal network that had been through this process and go, yeah, this is a big problem. We need this fixed?
Yes. There are lots of people who are going through this, and I have lots of friends who have gone through the same process. One of them set up a group chat, a WhatsApp group chat with, I think now there are about 40 women in it. And it's a micro community. And I think that these kind of micro communities exist everywhere, of people who are going through similar issues in life. So I probably didn't get my market validation until, I didn't validate the problem before I started building the business, to be honest. I raised this round on a little bit of market validation on my ideas, on putting pen to paper, but I would say that in terms of proof of concept, I probably did that a bit later.
Oh, that's interesting. So okay, but what did you present in your pitch deck then, in terms of what was your presentation to the investors? Was it heavily focused on your team? Because usually the market validation point is, the main one that you do, but you're saying you kind of left that a little bit later. You were quite confident that there was enough demand in it. Obviously investors must have been as well then.
This is a really big global problem. You can see, and this is the kind of problem that you can feel, and you can see it, and you can see, Pivot started as a community-based networking app to connect people to resources, community content, and education. So I would say that commercially, it started as a D2C community app. Obviously, the fundraising landscape has changed a lot in the last year, but I presented it as a holistic platform, connecting people who are going through this life stage with experts, professionals, and network. And it does, because it's an emotional, personal problem, it does connect. People connect with this problem. Many people have gone through it. If you think about the stats, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Every person, every family will be touched by this problem. So it's quite, I don't want to say it's easy to talk to investors about this, but this is a problem that touches every single person in the world, really. Divorce is rife. So, so I think that helped me in kind of selling the business, really. And also my team, myself, my team, my co-founder, we have professional experience, we have a background. I think that gave people confidence.
And how long was Pivot running for? Was it running kind of profitably? How do you kind of make money? Was it making money, and was it sort of revenue generating before you went to the raise, or did you have to have the raise to kind of make it all happen?
No, we raised pre-product and pre-revenue. So we raised the first tranche of our angel round pre-product and pre-revenue, and we raised from I would like to call it an angel round, really, from angel investors, family and friends, professional networks that we are part of, and so we are still pre-product, pre-revenue. Actually, we have a digital presence, but yeah, so we are still not revenue generating.
Oh, right. How do you, with the greatest respect, how do you know it's all going to work? What's the kind of magic behind it, or what's the sort of driving force behind it then?
So our customers, our in terms of our financial model, we have 2 layers of recurring revenue from customers and professionals. We'll be taking a commission on consultation charges and charging a listing fee for professionals to access our platform and communities. Our main customers is the professional network that we bring onto the platform, and the professionals in this space are really clamoring for elevation. They're clamoring for integration, for elevation of this divorce coaching industry.
Yeah, for that, it's not an insignificant amount that's already been put down, considering the sort of lack of market validation. It seems I'm always trying to find out what the big story is for investors that made them put the money down. Do you think it was you, your team? Do you think it was just literally the size of the market and the size of the problem? What do you think it was that investors were most excited about?
Number one, team. So I have, it was myself and my co-founder who, I have a personal experience. My co-founder has strategic experience. We have marketing, we have product, and we have content. So, and then we have some fractional staff. So the team is strong. And then in terms of the market, divorce is a £7 billion market in the UK, 200 billion worldwide. The average cost of divorce is £14,500 just on legal fees without ancillary costs. So, people are spending, that's £2 billion just on legal fees. So people are spending money. There's this whole other nascent industry of coaches who are all looking for a platform to come onto. So we felt we've had a lot of positivity from the coaches and from the consultants in the space who also want to see change at a systemic level. So we are really serving both sides of this marketplace. And I think that in terms of what allowed investors to put money down, maybe they also see I'm persistent and I don't really take no for an answer. I knock on every door. If the door slams on me, I assume another one's going to open. Like every connection, every contact that I have, I use every, and I still nurture those relationships, and I have over the past year. So, I think that it's definitely a combination. I haven't, we're not there yet. But we're getting there. We're still raising a bit more money. We have money in the bank, but we're still, in this market, I think that you have to kind of raise where you can. So
yeah, I mean, how have you found it? I mean, I think that, in 2023 we had the Silicon Valley bank crash, which I think sent quite a few ripples through the whole sort of tech market. Have you found, I don't know if you've been able to sort of raise in the past, but have you found a difference in the kind of investors' appetite recently?
I mean, I didn't raise before 2023. So, I understand that it was very different 2 years ago. I definitely think that it's harder to, it is harder to raise now, but it's taking longer, which is why we closed the first tranche of our round in July, and we're still open until the end of March. And now we kind of got going with what we have. But in order to give us more runway, we're going to take some more money in before the end of March. And then that will give us enough time to, have product market fit, and then to go on and to build a proper platform and spend more money on technology, because that's where we're kind of stepping back right now.
Yeah, interesting. So with that first part of the first half of your 500,000, you've got 250,000 in the bank. How are you deploying that money right now then?
So we're spending we're spending money on a low-code platform, low-code technology, a low-code product. We've spent quite a lot of money on market research, and we've done lots of surveys and customer surveys and coach surveys, and we've spent time and money on that. And I would say also refining our business model, so staff. We have a fractional CMO, we have a product manager. So we put money into growth, marketing, and staff right now. And we've still got a majority chunk left, but I would say that that's going to go on growth and marketing as opposed to technology.
Okay. And so going
like commoditized. So whatever we build now, we will have to change. So I don't really want to put anything there. It's more about building our the two sides of our marketplace and the communities around that.
Would you kind of just describe it as an MVP, or is it more advanced than that?
It's definitely an MVP. I mean, it's a low-code MVP on Bubble. So it's we're spending on the design of that as opposed to like the technology of it.
So I guess you're doing everything you can to get that sort of alpha version out there, but based on exactly what you're hearing from all these different sides of the market, the customers, the people that are getting divorced, the actual coaches,
Lawyers.
other experts, lawyers. Yeah, okay, right. So, and then that's informing how you're building the product, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good way to do it. So, do you think that were investors kind of surprised, or was it that the fact that this industry as a whole has been so underserved for so long? Is that why you think this is all happening now?
So the process around divorce and separation hasn't changed for centuries. So you still have to, I mean, now there's no fault divorce, but a lot of the products out there are quite clinical, quite law focused. There's no holistic lifestyle product that speaks to the D2C, to the consumer, to the end, to the consumer. So I think that's where we've seen a space. There's a lack of empathy. So I think that we're coming at this from a more empathetic standpoint, and yet providing people with the services and the support that they need to get through this life stage, really.
Okay, so what did you find was the biggest early challenges for when you started Pivot then?
I think that I started this journey as a female founder. You know, I'm Asian, I'm Indian, female founder. I am non-technical. I have no experience in building a tech product. I literally have no experience with what I'm doing other than the personal experience. So I definitely have had to convince investors and angel investors specifically about the product and about our plans, future plans. I think that the more that they've seen me on the journey, though, the more that they've been convinced, just because it is hard and you do keep on learning. So I think that was hugely challenging at the beginning.
And you mentioned that you were part of a number of networks. How did they help and support you?
Yeah, so the first thing that I did after speaking to my female founder friend who is in the space, she gave me a few names to talk to. I just joined all these female founder networks that they do exist, and they are really helpful. And there's just a fountain and a wealth of kind of connections and networking and support and professional guidance, and anything, like if you just have any kind of question, I think I'm a member of about 3 or 4 groups. So there's one called Founders Social, there's one called C Ventures, and I found 2 of my investors, 1 or 2 of my investors through that network. It was through these networks that I really connected to people, looked for support, and also just kind of shamelessly put myself out there. Yeah. I really think that you have to kind of have very little pride almost. Yeah. And you're building something, you've got a passion, you've got a vision, and you just I kind of close my eyes and just might have been awkward occasionally, but I get messaging and calling people, and just got in the door.
Yeah, okay. So through your own personal networks, friends, connections, other networks that you joined, you were able to get hold of some investors then. So what did you already have the pitch deck created? How did that conversation initially go with the first investors?
Yeah, so with my first, I had one female founder friend. I didn't have a huge network. I had one female founder friend who was a tech founder who had successfully exited a business. And and I connected with her, and she really mentored me and my co-founder through these initial stages of getting a pitch deck together. She connected me with her design agency, which is Hey Hi Hello. They do a lot of pitch decks for, and they only work with very early stage startups, with founders, to kind of get them from 0 to half or 1, just to get them get their ideas from their brain onto a pitch deck, and then you have something to talk about with investors, and you can go and you can it was really just, I connected with this agency. It was about like exactly a year ago, and we put our thoughts into this deck, and then I just started, it was like the end of January, and I thought, okay, I'm going to raise this money. It's not a huge amount. I'm going to raise this money in a few months. Obviously then SVB collapsed in March 2023. My first big fundraising summit was March 23rd, which was actually hosted at SVB's offices, which are now HSBC, but that was a C Ventures event. And at that event, I met lots of people. So, you just even need one helpful person and you can get it. And it's then from then on, it's really up to you to put one foot in front of the other and take the steps yourself to just go and just push and just see where this journey takes you.
So we say that maybe that your own personal golden rule was to make that first initial connection and really then from that just see how many other connections you can get from it, really put yourself out there, but also really invest in that pitch deck. Can I ask if the pitch deck, was it geared towards sort of one that you would email to investors and they would read it cold, or was it more geared towards presentations that you'd make face to face to investors when you met them?
Yeah, we emailed them out. We emailed it out, and then we had a DocSend account so we could see who was looking at it, and I sent it. I mean, I'm very much a believer in, you can meet someone today and they can change your life. You don't know what is going to happen to you today. You don't know, you can make one phone call, one connection, and it can just change the trajectory of your life, your business, whatever. So I sent it out to networks. I sent it out to people. I just, asked people to send it out. I emailed it out, and we definitely had some, we had calls where we would sometimes present it, but really I felt that a deck we would send the deck in, and then a deck is the way to get a call, actually, to get a meeting, I would say. Send the deck in, get the meeting, and then talk about it, and then potentially take the conversation further. You can see like on DocSend, people spend 10-20 seconds per slide, so they're not spending a lot of time on this. So you have to just make it really commercial, make it talk to the investor, make them see that there's a commercial value in what you're doing. Because now, it might have been okay to raise pre-product, pre-revenue before, but there has to be a commercial aspect to every slide on your deck, which is something I've learned now.
Yeah, and obviously it did make a big impact. And so those initial conversations that did go well, was there, let's talk about the ones that went well, but was there also some ones that, they actually ripped it apart? I mean, how did that experience go? How did those conversations go?
Yeah, I mean, generally people don't like D2C businesses. So this was ripped apart a lot. What are you doing? It's not going to, you're going to have to spend too much money on it. Your customer acquisition cost is going to be really high. I mean, there was one investor who literally just told me to quit while I was ahead. And yeah, it was terrible. But actually, those are the people that you should be talking to more. And, the people who will give you that criticism, they'll find the gaps, and for the next pitch, you'll fill that gap. So, those hard questions, they're asking because they've probably seen a business not be successful when doing something similar. So I think that it's also really important, if you do have a negative experience, to actually embrace that and learn from it. Yeah,
well, I mean, there's been a bit of a theme actually with these interviews, that it seems to be that the investors that do really rip into something are actually sometimes the ones that are the most interested in it.
Yeah, and they also want to see how you deal with that kind of confrontation, and can you hold your own, and can you answer the difficult questions?
You seem like someone that could hold it together in those negotiations.
Try my best.
Yeah, cool. So you didn't feel disheartened by anyone that ripped it apart. You used that
I did. I
you,
did.
you did. Okay. So well,
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
us about that.
you do. You're only human at the end of the day. You know, you work on this thing, and every day it is a really hard journey because, you know, what are the percentages of a business that will succeed or fail? You know, you take something, you put your blood, sweat, tears into this, and then it is hard to hear the negativity, but you have to turn it around and have a mindset shift through the process and say, okay, this is why it's happened. I have to change this, or I have to think about something else and use it to your benefit. It's at the end of the day. So it is hard, but you just have to kind of forget that and move on quickly.
No, definitely. But I guess what you're saying is you got some of that investor feedback. You used it to improve the deck, but there's also a balance between, you know, because what one investor will say will be the opposite of what another investor says. Yeah, someone might see a weakness somewhere that other people see as a strength. So I'm guessing, how did you use your own judgment as well when you're getting one investor tearing it apart, another investor saying it's great? How did you find that balance between, you know, tweaking your deck and making a presentation and improving it?
I think what you just have, what one has to remember when going through this process is that it doesn't make sense. So that's the thing. Like, one investor will tell you one thing, the other one investor will tell you it's a great idea. You'll get two different. I mean, even on this accelerator program that I did just now, you know, we spent 7 weeks going through a deck, and then it was completely changed at the last week because one of the mentors on the program, you know, they do it that way so that somebody comes in at the second, you know, somebody comes in at the last like penultimate week and says that's all wrong, you got to change that. And, you know, it ended up completely changing. So what you have to understand through the process, it doesn't make sense. A lot of the time, investors at this very early stage, at pre-seed, angel, whatever it is, they're banking. A lot of it is about you. It's about the founder. It's about the team. It's about their knowledge in your capability or your dedication and your commitment to the business that you're building. So there's very little common sense attached to what investors do. You know, it's a lot about network. It's a lot about what you look like. It's a lot about, you know, numbers. Is it about numbers? I don't know. There's no sense to it. So the quicker you actually accept that, the more successful you'll be. And your mental health will probably be better too. So
yeah, that is fantastic advice. I mean, it is a very unusual process. It's a very, very unique custom. You know, it's a very unique sort of end user that you're presenting to. It's nothing like you've ever presented to. It's not like a customer, you know, and you will see the massive variation in reactions between lots of different investors. But I guess that, you know, now you've been through all that, it's great to now talk about it and to give other founders in this network and other networks, you know, give them faith and belief that it is possible, and no matter what setbacks, you can still get that money, even in today's climate where, you know, it seems everyone's saying how difficult it is. You're the proof that it, you know, that you can get an investment.
I mean, yeah, I think that you can. I think that it is taking longer. That's the only thing that I would say. It is taking, you know, if you think before it might have taken 3 to 6 months to raise, I would start raising, you know, 9 to 12 months before you're going to run out of money, you know. So I would just have a lot more cushion than before, which is why we've kind of, you know, we raised tranche 1, we're raising another tranche now, and that will just like lengthen our runway a bit so that we are not in a you know, we're not under pressure, too much pressure anyway. So
yeah. Was there did you have any really unexpected questions from investors? Was there anything you just were completely taken aback by?
I mean, there's one investor that comes to mind, and, you know, yeah, literally I had an investor say to me, you shouldn't do this, just stop, because it's just not going to work, you know, just don't do it, just stop. Like that, you know. So when you have somebody who it's a divorce app. I mean, I've seen so many of these before. It's not going to work. They don't work. There's no scale. You can't do it, so, but we have found something that can, that actually forced us to think about where are the commercials and how can we take this to, how can we make this a scalable, potentially global business, right? So we've stepped away from the legals, from the law, which is focused on jurisdiction and bound by jurisdiction, onto coaching and the mental health side of it, which we can take to other markets. So there is that global opportunity there. So even the worst pitch, the worst investor call did actually make us think, okay, if this isn't a commercially scalable, sustainable business, how can we make it one? Because I was very green on entering this, as was my co-founder. You can have as much, business, strategic, operation experience, but if you haven't launched a tech business before, in this kind of very fast-paced, competitive market, that's you're lacking experience there. So, yeah.
And was there anything, we're coming to the end of the interview now, so I'm just sort of going to sort of wrap it up and just sort of ask a few sort of final questions. But is there anything that you wish you knew in hindsight if you were to do it all again, or before you started raising, before you started the company? What do you know now that you'd wish you'd known before? Bit of a big question, but
yeah, no, I feel like I've actually come full circle, because I started about a year ago. I raised half of the money that I wanted. Now I'm kind of doing the second raise about a year later. And I think what I would tell myself is, no matter what happens, the experience that I have had, whatever it is, I'm strong enough to do it, and to also not sweat the small stuff, and to realize that it's just part of the journey and you have to enjoy this journey, because it's a really hard one, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed and stressed out and pressured by not only work but life. So I think enjoy the journey is something I'm going to do now in this next phase of our raise. That's something that I really need to do more of.
Well, that's fantastic advice, and thank you so much for talking. It's a great way to end the interview with you saying to everyone out there, enjoy the journey, because it is a hard journey, it's a long journey, but it's such a fruitful one when you get there. So thank you so much for your time talking to me and the audience, and have a great day.
Dave, thank you so much for having me.
Cool.